Tonight, we're not just telling a story. We're peeling back the skin of time, touching the raw bone of the past. A world where faith is heavier than steel, where walls aren't just made of stone. They're stitched together with prophecy, blood, and desperation. This is not the past as you remember it from books. This is the past as it was lived. Hungry, afraid, sacred. You don't know it yet. But today, this day, will echo through time. They will not write songs about you. They won't carve your name into a wall. But your pain, your silence, will be part of the city's last breath. They will not remember your name, but they will remember your hunger. Now, close your eyes. Let the modern world fall away. The hum of electricity, the comfort of clean water, the illusion of safety. Step backward, not a year, not a century, but nearly 2 millennia. Let the smoke of sacrifice curl around your skin. Let the sun burn deeper, hotter. Let the sound of sandals on stone become your heartbeat. Let the siege begin. You wake up in the year 70 CE. You inhale sharply and choke. The air is sour. Ash, dust, old oil, burning linen. Jerusalem is no longer a city. It is a wound. The alleys are narrower than you remember. Not because they've changed, but because you have. You've shrunk, not in height, but in hope. Your ribs show, your breath wheezes. You feel like a ghost of yourself, and yet you're still alive inside the holy city, God's chosen fortress. The city that must never fall. At least, that's what they say. You are not a soldier. You are not a rabbi. You are not one of the zealots who whisper about rebellion. You are a stonemason's apprentice, barely old enough to grow a beard, but old enough to carry bricks, old enough to bleed, old enough to understand that the walls around you might not save you. You step out into the light, but the sun does not warm you. It presses down like a judgment. The sky is white with heat. The streets quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when everyone's waiting to die. You pass what used to be a market square. Figs once overflowed in woven baskets here. Singers used to perform under the olive trees. Now there's only a dead goat carcass, half covered in flies. A child sits nearby, legs crossed, staring at it like he's trying to decide something. You look away. The Temple Mount looms in the distance, its golden roof dulled by soot, its priests hoarse from endless ritual, their prayers thinner now, as if even God has started to starve. Inside the temple, they still burn incense, still light lamps, still read the scrolls aloud, but fewer come now. Some have stopped believing. Others simply don't have the strength to climb the hill. A soft voice murmurs nearby. You turn and see an old woman. Her lips move, but her hands tremble more than her words. She clutches a dry palm leaf, not for prayer, but to chew. A trick they say staves off hunger pangs. It doesn't. Across from her, a man sharpens a bone. Not a knife, just a bone. He eyes the pigeons nesting in a broken gutter. You both know what he's thinking. You keep walking. There's rot in the air. Rot of old bread. Rot of flesh. Rot of faith. You remember the rumors. The Romans are building ramps, mile-long stone causeways. They've surrounded every gate. They've burned the olive groves and poisoned the wells. You've seen the smoke at night, heard the drums. Sometimes you think you hear music from their camps, flutes, horns, laughter. It's not a war to them, it's entertainment. And inside these sacred walls, it's a slow grinding end. The city groans beneath its own weight. Too many bodies, not enough bread. You used to dream of leaving Jerusalem, of going to Alexandria maybe, of learning Greek, of seeing the sea. Now, you dream of bread, just bread, even the stale kind, the hard kind, anything. You've chewed leather. You've sucked on stones. You've counted out barley grains like coins. Once you found a fig pit in the trash. You held it in your hand like it was a ruby. That was 3 days ago. But hunger is not the worst part. The worst part is hope. Hope that someone will save the city. That God will intervene. That the Romans will grow bored. That a miracle will happen. Hope is heavier than bricks. It breaks more backs than fear ever could. You walk to the Western Wall. Not the famous one, not yet. This wall has no name, just cracks. You lean against it and peek through. Beyond the trees, beyond the outer trenches, a glint of metal, a Roman shield. Then another and another. They move like ants. endless, tireless, patient. You've heard they catapult rotting corpses over the walls at night, disease as a weapon. You've heard they pay deserters in bread. You've heard they crucify anyone who tries to leave. You've heard too much. You try to unhear it. But silence offers no comfort here. Evening draws near, but there's no sunset, just thick gray smoke choking the horizon. Somewhere in the city, a baby cries. Somewhere else, someone doesn't wake up. Your legs ache. Your hands are cracked and raw, but you still breathe. You are here, inside Jerusalem, and Jerusalem is still standing. For now, you whisper to yourself, because if you don't speak, you might forget how. I am not a warrior. I am not a prophet. I am only a witness. But even a witness must choose where to look and what to believe. The temple's torches flicker. A raven flies overhead. The wind changes, and somewhere, buried deep beneath stone and silence, a crack begins to form. Let the day begin. Before your eyes fully open, something burns your nose. It's not fire, not incense, not smoke. It's rotting leather, spoiled milk, wet, the unmistakable stink of too many people packed too close for too long, without water, without soap, without hope. You slept on cloth, but it wasn't yours. Someone else's cloak, someone else's skin, soaked in weeks of wear. You don't know whose. You stopped asking 3 nights ago. Now you just lie still, eyes half shut, breathing through your mouth, until breathing becomes too painful. Then you rise. You sit up slowly. Your back cracks like dry branches. The hard stone beneath you feels warm, but not with comfort, with fever. Your limbs ache, not from labor, but from undernourishment. Your joints feel loose. Your hands shake, not from fear, from emptiness. You haven't chewed anything in over a day. You drank vinegar water yesterday. It burned your throat, but it didn't kill you. So you're still here. You stand, or try to. Your legs buckle. Your knees pop. You catch yourself against the wall. There's moss on the stone now. It grows from human breath, from moisture, from sweat and heat and time. You step out into the alley, morning, but it doesn't feel like it. No rooster calls, no market bells, just the far-off thump of something falling. Wood? Body? Who knows? Your first full inhale of the day fills your lungs with a smell that almost makes you vomit. There's something nearby, something rotting. You round the corner and you see it, a water trough, black with flies. There's a rat inside, floating belly up, one eye missing. The others have seen it too. You're not alone. A boy stares into the trough. He holds a cup in his hand, cracked clay, and you realize he's thinking about it. He's not stupid, just thirsty, just human. You look away, so does he, but the cup doesn't drop. Your body is covered in a thin film, not sweat exactly, not filth either, something between the two. You've stopped noticing. There's no water to wash, not even for prayer. You scratch your forearm, and small flakes fall like ash. Down the street, someone is digging. Not a grave, not a garden. A hole, small, shallow. He's burying scraps. Rotten peels, a strip of leather. People walk by without stopping. You do too, but your eyes stay on the hole longer than they should. Surprise historical fact. During the Roman siege of Jerusalem, food shortages became so severe that people ate leather sandals, dried hay, and even bird droppings. Many dug into the city sewers, desperately searching for old bones to boil for soup. Some abandoned morality altogether. You try to shake the thought off, but it clings to you, like the stench, like the sweat, like the silence. You pass the temple wall. There's a line forming, not for food, for ashes. The priest still burns sacrifices, barely. They give the faithful a pinch of ash to smear on their foreheads, a sign, a hope, a reminder that God still listens. You get in line, not because you believe, because it gives you something to do. As you wait, you watch a woman argue with the merchant. She holds up a tiny sack, probably lentils. He shakes his head. She begs. He spits on the ground. Then she does something strange. She hands him a ring, gold, bent, simple. His eyes go wide. He takes it and gives her the sack. But the sack is light, too light. You both know it. But neither of you say anything. She walks past you. You see her lips move. It's enough. she says, to herself, to God, to no one. You receive your ashes, black, warm. You smear them on your forehead with 2 fingers. It stings, not the ash, the feeling. You are not religious, not really. But here, in this city, under these skies, everyone becomes a believer eventually, or they die, or they go mad. Sometimes you can't tell the difference. You walk again. Your sandals are falling apart. You've retied them with rope. You think about removing them entirely, but the stones are sharp, and there's waste in the streets. Human, animal, mixed. You pass a collapsed wall. Children sit on it, legs dangling. They don't laugh. They don't play. They just sit, waiting for what? Bread, rain, salvation? Maybe all 3. Maybe none. You step over a bucket. It's not for water. It's for waste. Every household now shares buckets. They're emptied into alley drains that clog, overflow, and seep back into homes. Sickness spreads fast. So do rumors. So does madness. You see a man standing still in a corner, eyes open, not blinking. He's praying to a wall, not the temple wall, just a wall. A cracked, unpainted slab of stone. You wonder how long he's been there. You wonder if you'll be like him in a week, or a day, or tomorrow. You reach your work site. It's not a job site anymore. It's rubble, but you still go, still pretend to build something, because pretending gives shape to the day. The tools are gone, so are the masters, but the wall still stands, so you press your palm to it, warm, rough, real. You lean your forehead against the stone and close your eyes. For a second, a short, strange second, you imagine the city healed, whole, glowing, alive. You smell baking bread. You hear songs. You see children chasing goats. Then someone coughs, and the dream vanishes. You open your eyes. The sun is now high. The ash from distant fires drifts overhead like snow. You blink it away. It sticks to your lashes. A boy passes with a bucket. You hear the liquid slosh. You feel your throat tighten. He sees you looking. He hugs the bucket close. His eyes are afraid, not of you, of what you might become if you get too hungry. You understand. You would do the same. The rest of the day drags on in silence. not peace. Just pause, like the city is holding its breath. You walk home at dusk, if you can call it that. It's a corner with a roof and a cloth to sleep under. You pass one last face, an old man, eyes closed, murmuring a psalm with lips that barely move. He's thin, too thin. You wonder if he's still alive. You don't stop to check. You lie down. You don't undress. You don't pray. You just lie still. The cloak is damp again. Your skin itches. You scratch without thinking. You breathe shallow because breathing deep hurts. Your ribs press up against your skin. You wonder what day it is. No one counts anymore. You close your eyes, and then suddenly, you hear something new. A trumpet, faint, far off, from the hills. Roman? Jewish? You can't tell, but you know what it means. Something is coming. Tomorrow will not be the same. Sleep, if you can. Your first task today is simple, not noble, not heroic, just this. Stay alive long enough to reach midday. You rise before the sun. Not because you're eager, but because sleep in this city is a gamble. The heat hasn't yet begun to swell, but your body is already soaked. The cloth you slept on feels like wet parchment. Your eyes are blurry. Your stomach turns empty. You wonder if it's hunger or something darker beginning inside you. You scrape ash from your skin. You chew a reed to wet your throat. And then you walk. Not because there's anywhere to go, but because lying still is worse. Outside, the light is strange. The sun doesn't glow anymore. It glares. Every ray feels like punishment. There's a new smell in the air today. You pause. Something burnt. Not wood, not cloth, meat. Your mouth waters, and you hate yourself for it. Because you know, if someone's cooking meat in Jerusalem today, it isn't from an animal. You keep moving. You reach the well, or what used to be one. Now it's just a pit covered with splinters and boards. A boy crouches nearby, scooping dark sludge into a broken bowl. He watches you. You nod. He doesn't nod back. He doesn't trust you. Nobody does anymore. Not even children. You make your way toward what used to be a work site. The old stone wall. Your master's last commission before the siege. Now cracked, half toppling. You used to just your body and your breath and the quiet prayer you keep tucked between your teeth. You kneel, not to worship, to hide. You hear footsteps, fast, heavy, boots. Someone's running. You don't look. Looking means involvement. Looking means curiosity, and curiosity gets you killed here. So you pretend to tie your sandal, even though it's already tied. You wait until the sound fades. You feel your pulse pounding in your fingertips. This is the new rhythm of the city. Fear, silence, footstep, retreat, over and over, like a funeral drum. You're hungry. It's not just a sensation. It's a pressure behind your eyes. It makes everything sharper, louder, crueler. You reach into your sash. A single bean, hard, brown, and cracked. You roll it between your fingers like a coin. Then you press it between your teeth. You don't chew. You just let it sit there, tricking your tongue into thinking there's more. You do this every day now. It hasn't worked yet, but you keep trying. Your skin feels tight across your back. Your breath is short. You need water, but you also need to blend in, because worse than hunger is being noticed. You walk through the square slowly, eyes down, arms loose, like someone who has a purpose. But inside, what if they notice? I don't belong here. What if they see through me? Because the truth is, you're not one of them. Not really. You weren't born hard. You weren't born for this. You were born to carve stone, not bury friends, not scavenge from corpses, not whisper psalms with bloody lips. But this world doesn't care. It doesn't ask what you were meant for. It just asks, can you keep walking? A woman approaches. She carries a clay jar. You think it's water, but she holds it close, like a child. You step aside. She doesn't say anything, just stares. Her face is sunken, her cheekbone sharp like blade. Her eyes flick down to your feet. Your sandals are newer than most. That's a mistake. She might follow you. She might tell someone. You feel your breath go shallow again. You clench your fists inside your robe. You walk faster. In the back of the alley, a man crouches over a pigeon trap. He sets it with care. He whispers to it. He places crumbs from his own meal inside, a sacrifice for something smaller, weaker, edible. You nod to him. He doesn't nod back. Trust is too expensive. You head toward the temple quarter, not to pray, to listen. That's where the rumors are. And in a starving city, rumors are nutrition. Even the lies keep your mind moving. You sit near a cracked column. Others are already gathered. Men, women, a soldier missing his right hand. They speak low. The Romans breached the lower aqueduct. Someone traded a knife for flour. A zealot killed his cousin for speaking Latin. The priests have started hoarding grain. Some nod, some scoff. Some just close their eyes. You don't speak, you just listen. Because speaking makes you visible, and visibility is death. Someone nearby breaks down crying. You don't turn, you don't help, you don't speak. Tears are common now. Crying is like dust, part of the air. You hear a voice behind you, hoarse, older, deliberate. We were chosen. This city cannot fall. The Lord will deliver us. No one responds, not because they disagree, but because they've already said it themselves. Too many times. The sun climbs. The heat begins to pulse. Your lips dry out. You touch your temple and feel the slow rhythmic beat of dehydration. You find a shadow under a half-collapsed awning. You sit. You do not pray. You do not plan. You simply wait. A family passes. Mother, father, 2 children, thin, silent. They push a cart, not with belongings, with a body wrapped. Still, they move like it's nothing, like it's a chore, like it's Tuesday. You watch them disappear down the alley. You close your eyes, but the image stays. Maybe I'm not meant for this. Maybe the gods made a mistake. You open your eyes. A shadow falls over your foot. You look up. A city guard. You don't move. Don't breathe. He squints at you, then keeps walking. You exhale. You survived another glance. Another moment. You remind yourself. Survival isn't about strength here. It's about not being the first to fall. The sun passes its highest point. You're still alive. That is the victory today. That is enough for now. There's no room for weakness in this city. Not now. Not when even the gods seem hungry. You walk toward the temple, not because you're devout, but because it's what everyone does. To stay home is to attract attention. To skip ritual is to be questioned. To be questioned is to risk your ration, your breath, your life. You take the familiar path, past the crumbling olive trees, past the square where the singers used to play, past the fountain that hasn't held water in weeks. Your stomach turns, not from hunger this time, but from the thick smell in the air. Incense. Heavy, sticky. A scent that once meant purity. Now it smells like desperation. You reach the outer court. There are fewer people now. Less than last week. Less than yesterday. Many are too weak to walk. Others simply stopped believing. But still, some come, some crawl, some weep openly, some stare up at the temple stones like they're waiting for them to speak. You blend in, eyes low, shoulders slouched, but inside, you're not sure what you believe anymore. The guards at the gate don't speak, they just nod. You pass through the archway, your skin brushing the sun-warmed stone. The shadow of the holy place swallows you whole. It is cooler here, darker, holier. If such a thing still exists, you kneel, not because you want to, but because everyone does. Even the strong, even the rebels. Because here in the house of the Most High, resistance becomes very, very quiet. A priest walks by. White robes turned gray with ash and sweat. His eyes are bloodshot. His hands are cracked and bleeding. Not from sacrifice, but from holding the firestones too long. He doesn't look at you. He looks through you, as if you are already dust, already judged. He disappears behind the curtain, and you hear the low chant. Begin, familiar, ancient, worn like an old rope. You mouth the words, but not the meaning. Your lips move. Your mind drifts. You are not just a servant. You are the offering. That's what the elder said yesterday, whispered it as he smeared ashes across a young girl's brow. You didn't understand it then. Now it rings in your ears like prophecy. You rise and step closer. The main chamber is off limits. Only the pure may enter. Only the worthy. But who here is pure anymore? Everyone has stolen something, eaten something unclean, cursed the sky, turned away from the dying. If purity is the price of proximity, then the temple must be very empty indeed. Still, you approach, just close enough to smell the blood. Yes, blood. Old, fresh, mixed. They still offer animals here. Even now, even in siege. Not because they have them, but because they believe sacrifice will bring salvation. Even if it's their last lamb. Even if it's their only pigeon. Even if it's the neighbor's. You try not to look at the altar, but your eyes betray you. A lamb, tiny, skeletal, lies curled at the edge. Its blood runs slowly, soaking into the sacred stone. The priest holds a blade, his hands trembling. You don't know if it's from sorrow or from lack of strength. Smoke curls around your face, sweet, pungent, dizzying. You feel lightheaded, or maybe it's just the hunger. You sway. Someone grabs your arm, a woman beside you. Her eyes are wild, hopeful, broken. She hisses through clenched teeth. Don't fall here. Not in the temple. He'll see you. You nod. You don't know who he is. The priest? The high god? You steady yourself. She lets go. And just like that, you are alone again. A voice rises. Not a prayer, a prophecy. A young man stands near the inner gate, shouting words from the scrolls. The day of vengeance is near, the day of fire, the day the temple shall fall. The crowd murmurs. Some shout back, some flee, some tremble. No one silences him, not because he's right, but because he's saying what they fear. And fear sounds like truth these days. You turn to leave. The ceremony is over, or maybe it isn't. Does it matter? You walk back into the sun, but your heart still beats with the rhythm of the chants. Your skin still stings from the incense. Your hands still smell like sacrifice. You wipe them on your robe, but the feeling remains. You pass a child, barefoot, curled in the shade of a wall. He holds a sliver of bone between his fingers, carving it with a nail, not to make a toy, to make a charm, a sacred object, Protection. From what? Hunger? Romans? God? You don't ask. You just keep walking. You return to your quarter. The alley feels darker now, not from shadow, from something else. A weight, a silence, a knowing. You sit in the corner. You exhale. You close your eyes. And in the darkness behind your lids, you see the temple again, the altar, the lamb, the blade. You hear the priests whisper, "You are not just a servant, you are the offering." And suddenly, you understand. You will not be saved, not because you are unworthy, not because God is absent, but because you were never meant to survive. You are the city's final breath, its last act of faith, its sacrifice. You press your hands together, not in prayer, just to stop them shaking. You are still alive, and that is a kind of holiness. For now, you hear the clatter before you see them. A line of iron-hoofed mules, dust clouds rising, leather boots slapping dry stone, and always, always, the creak of the governor's cart. You've learned to freeze when it comes. Not to bow, that's too obvious. Just enough stillness to look harmless. Invisible. The cart turns the corner. 2 guards ride ahead of it, thick-armed and sunburned. Their spears aren't polished anymore. Nothing in the city is polished anymore. But their hands stay steady. They know the power they carry, not the steel, the silence their presence demands. Then the cart itself. Large, dark wood, carved with fading symbols, lions, torches, thunderbolts. Half Edomite, half Roman. It glides, pulled by a team of oxen, more well-fed than any man in this city. Inside, on red cushions dulled by grime, sits the governor. You see him, not for the first time, but every time feels different, worse. He's draped in a pale linen robe that used to be white. His fingers are heavy with rings. His hair is tied back in Roman fashion, though it's falling out now. His face is powdered. His lips are dry. His eyes empty. Not cruel, not kind, just tired and powerful. He does not look at you. He never has. He never will. And yet, his word decides who eats, who drinks, who is punished. You heard a whisper yesterday. He cut a man's hand off for stealing bread. He let another go for bribing him with honey. He sleeps on a mattress soaked in goat milk. You don't know which stories are true, but you've learned this. In this city, truth doesn't matter. Only proximity to power does. You take a step back as the cart rolls past. You bow your head, not out of respect, out of calculation. Once he's gone, the street breathes again. Not relief, just oxygen. That's enough. You move on. Centuries from now, historians will wonder what his name even meant, whether he ruled or merely survived, whether he was Roman or Jewish or both or neither. But today he can have you killed with a gesture. That's what matters. The city isn't ruled by laws anymore. Not really. There are decrees. There are armed men. There are priests with scrolls and zealots with knives. But justice? Justice died weeks ago. Now there is only obedience and luck. You step into a side alley where rations are handed out. 2 young men, one with a cloth over his mouth, argue with a priest. They have tokens, stamped pieces of bone, but the priest shakes his head. No more. Not today. One of the men spits. The guards step forward, spears low. The crowd stills. One of the men curses in Greek. A mistake. The priest's hand rises. There's a pause, no longer than a heartbeat. Then a blow. The man is on the ground, the token shattered under the guard's boot. No one speaks, not even the man's brother. He just pulls them up, and they vanish into the alley. You step forward. The priest sees you. He holds out a finger. You show your token. He takes it, looks at it for too long. Then he nods. He drops something into your hand, a pinch of barley, and a slice of something dry, maybe lentil, maybe clay. It doesn't matter. You bow your head. You back away. You did not die today. That is the system now. You sit in the shade of a cracked pillar to eat. A man approaches you. Ragged beard, sunken cheeks, sharp eyes. Half of that, he says, and I'll tell you a secret about the next ration line. You hesitate. He smells like blood and garlic. He holds out his hand. You break off a piece and give it to him. He swallows it whole, then leans in close. They're watching the eastern gate. Anyone who tries to trade salt gets branded. You nod. He grins, then vanishes. You don't know if it was a lie, but information feels more nourishing than food, even when it's poison. Later, you hear a woman being dragged down the street. She's screaming something about wheat or a stolen robe. You look. Everyone looks. 2 guards, temple guards this time, are pulling her by the arms. She kicks at them. They don't flinch. You catch a glimpse of her face. She looks like she once smiled easily. Not anymore. The punishment isn't announced. It doesn't need to be. They're making an example. No trial, no mercy, just motion, just order. In a city without food, law is about what keeps people still, not what's right. You walk back toward your shelter, heart heavy, stomach heavier. Not from food, from fear. As you pass the central fountain, long dry, you hear chanting. 3 men in ceremonial robes stand with scrolls. They shout blessings, call for obedience, quote ancient texts. People throw pebbles at them. Others kneel. One man claps. You don't do any of it. You just walk. You just survive. You hear the governor is giving a speech at sundown. You don't go. You already know the words. What if this is the best it ever was? What if this is Jerusalem's greatness? Not the Psalms, not the prophets, not the stones, but this, hunger, fear, a governor who never sees you, a priest who trades mercy for barley, a law that protects only power. You shiver, not from cold, but from the crack forming beneath everything. Centuries from now, they'll remember this place. They'll tell stories of the siege, of prophecy, of defiance, but they won't mention you. You are not the ruler, not the rebel, not the high priest. You are the line that bends, the one who waits, the one who obeys just enough not to die. And in this city, that might be the only kind of justice left. You haven't spoken all day. Not a word, not a whisper, not even to yourself. There's no one to speak to. The boy who used to sit near your corner, gone. The woman who shared her scraps, disappeared. The man who once told you jokes, the one with the crooked teeth and nervous hands. He hasn't stirred in 3 mornings. You sit, you listen, you breathe. That's it. You still go through the motions, still rise, still kneel at the broken fountain, still wait near the wall for a ration that may never come. But inside, you are emptying, a little more every hour, like the city itself is draining you, bit by bit, like water from a cracked jar. In your hands, the same tool, A shard of stone, rounded, smooth. You've used it for days to etch marks into the wooden beam beside your sleeping place. Not letters, not symbols, just lines, one for each day. You stare at them. Too many. You stopped counting at 32. Or maybe 37. It doesn't matter. Time here isn't real anymore. Only the hunger is, only the silence. The sun doesn't move today. Or maybe it does. You wouldn't know. You're sitting in shadow, but it feels like it hasn't shifted. Like the world is holding its breath. Like it's waiting for you to break. And you might. Your fingers tremble as you reach for your robe. There's a tear along the side. You tug at it, then stop. You think about mending it. Then stop again. What's the point? You won't need robes in the grave. Only cloth for wrapping, and even that's become a luxury. You laugh out loud. Once, sharp, short, startling. Then you cover your mouth. You don't want anyone to hear you. They might think you've gone mad. And maybe you have. Maybe I'm not meant for this. The thought creeps in. It has a voice now. Your voice, but colder, more certain. You've tried so hard to keep moving, to blend, to obey, to breathe. But for what? There is no reward, no redemption. No final song waiting to lift you out. Just this hour, this wall, this city that swallows its children. You stand suddenly, not from decision, from restlessness, from panic. You pace, one step, two, back again. You rub your face. Dust comes off on your palms like ash. You look at your fingers. You don't recognize them. They look thinner, wrong. You wonder if you'll still recognize your reflection, if you find water clean enough to see it. You climb the temple stairs, not to pray, not even to listen, just to move, just to feel your legs obey. But at the top, you stop, because from here, you can see the whole quarter, the roofs like jagged teeth, the smoke from distant fires, the people, slow, shuffling, hunched, like ghosts still tethered to earth. And you realize something awful. You don't feel anger. You don't feel sorrow. You feel nothing. You fall to your knees, not out of devotion, out of collapse. Your ribs grind against the stone. Your hands press against the hot stairs. You feel the heat, but not the pain. Your mind is too loud. Why am I here? Why hasn't anyone helped us? Why would a God let this happen? Maybe the gods made a mistake. You say it, not in your head, but aloud. Software barely a whisper. But the words hang there, heavier than stone. A woman nearby gasps. She looks at you with wide eyes. You don't apologize. You don't explain. You just look at her, and she looks away. You are now dangerous, not because of a knife, not because of poison, because of doubt. You crawl to a corner behind a column. You bury your face in your robe. You want to disappear, to become dust, to dissolve into the stone. A priest walks past. He doesn't see you, or pretends not to. You thank him in your mind, because if he had stopped, you might have wept in his arms, or cursed him, or worse. You sleep, not deeply, not long, just enough to forget where you are, just enough to remember what you once were. You dream of a table, bread, laughter, light. Then a knock at the door. Then silence. Then fire. You wake with a start. Your cheek is against stone. Your robe is soaked with sweat. You sit up. You don't know if it's morning or evening. You don't care. You walk anywhere. Every wall looks familiar. Every alley the same. You see people, but no one speaks. Just eyes, staring, measuring, empty. You pass a child holding a dead pigeon. She plucks its feathers with precision. She doesn't look at you. She's not playing. She's preparing. You keep walking. You return to your corner. No one is there, not even the man who usually lies across from you. You think he died, or left, or melted into the dirt. You sit, and you decide. No more asking, no more waiting, no more bargaining. You'll survive if you can, and if not, then let the stone take you. Let the silence keep you. Let the gods, if they exist, figure it out. You are not holy. You are not wicked. You are not strong. You are not weak. You are just here for now, and that is more than many can say. You hear them before you see them. Drums, low, rhythmic, not celebratory, not anymore. A warning. You press your back to a wall and listen. The sound grows closer. Boots, voices, and above them all, a single voice, rising. Jerusalem bleeds because we do nothing. The priests lie. The governor hoards grain. The Romans won't wait. So why should we? The voice belongs to a young man, too young to carry a blade, yet his hand is wrapped around the hilt of a short dagger. He walks like he owns the dirt, but his eyes are wild. He's a zealot, and he's not alone. A crowd follows him, 10, 20, maybe more. Men, women, even a few children. None of them smile. They carry slings, sticks, tools, not real weapons, just rage sharpened into whatever they could hold. You step back deeper into the alley. You don't want to be seen, but it's too late. He stops, looks around, and then looks directly at you. You, he shouts, you still bow to the temple rats? To the dogs who tell us to starve and pray? The crowd turns to look. 20 pairs of eyes, burning. You don't answer. You shake your head. But it's not enough. He steps closer. What do you believe in? That if we just kneel harder, the gates will fix themselves? That if we close our eyes long enough, the Romans will vanish? He's inches from you now. The dagger is still at his side. But his voice cuts deeper than any steel. There are only two kinds left in this city, he growls, those who fight and those who rot. Your mouth is dry. You try to speak. But what do you say? That you're neither. That you've spent weeks just trying to breathe? That you don't kneel because of faith, but because it keeps you fed? That you don't believe in gods or governors anymore, only in ration lines and cracked stones? It wouldn't matter. None of it would matter. This is a test, not of belief, not of morality, of allegiance. The crowd waits. He points to the temple behind you. If you stand with them, say so. Say it loud. He takes a step back. Or you pick up a stone, march with us, and help take the grain they hoard. He tosses a rock at your feet. It rolls to a stop near your sandal. Silence. This is the line. You look at the rock, simple, heavy, silent. You bend down, pick it up. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Your hand trembles. Not because you've chosen, because you haven't. You don't even know what this stone means yet. Does it make you a rebel? Or just a man desperate enough to pretend? You hear shouting behind you. Temple guards, 4 of them. They've seen the crowd, spears lowered, shields ready. You turn to face the zealot again. He's smiling. "Now's your chance," he whispers. "Throw it." Your hand tightens around the stone. The guards shout, "Disperse immediately!" In the name of the High Council. One of them raises his staff. The zealot steps in front of you. Well, you feel the weight in your palm. You feel eyes on your neck. You feel history watching. This stone is not just a stone. This moment is not just a moment. If you throw it, you're part of something dangerous, but alive. If you drop it, you're nothing, just another shadow in a dying city. And if you run, they'll remember you're back. You look at the crowd, at the guards, at the temple behind them, at the blood stains on the street from yesterday's protest. You draw your arm back, then pause, and that's when everything explodes. A woman screams, a guard lunges, a sling stone flies. Someone throws a torch. It hits a column. Flames leap. Suddenly, you're in the center of chaos, of movement, of history. You don't even know what you're doing until your hand opens and the stone leaves your fingers. It doesn't hit anyone. You don't even look to see where it lands, because the moment you throw it, you are no longer a watcher. You are a participant. The guards surge. The crowd scatters. Someone grabs your sleeve, a child, and pulls you toward a side alley. You run. You don't ask questions. You don't look back. You reach a collapsed storage room. 5 others hide there, breathing hard, eyes wide. No one speaks. Not yet. You sit. You listen to your heart pound in your ears. You stare at your hands, still trembling, still yours. You don't know if you made the right choice, but you made a choice. And here, in this city of ghosts and fire, that is enough to change everything. What happens next will follow you into legend or oblivion, and the city will remember, whether you threw the stone or stayed silent. A single nail now costs a day's labor. You didn't believe it until you saw it traded. A rusty iron nail, bent at the tip, for a half loaf of barley bread. Stale, cracked, but still edible. You watch the man hold it like treasure. His hands black with soot, his tunic scorched at the hem. He was a carpenter once, now reduced to trading fragments of his past just to feed his daughter. That was yesterday. Today, you're doing the same. The market is gone. What's left is something else entirely. No stalls, no laughter, no shouting of prices, just glances, whispers, exchanges made behind cloaks, inside dark rooms, between shaking fingers. You carry your offering in a scrap of cloth, a chipped bronze buckle you found in the rubble. You don't even know what it was once attached to, but you've heard there's a man, a smuggler, who trades in metal. And metal. Metal buys food. You reach the corner behind the dried well. It smells of old meat and ash. The man is there, tall, bald, one eye covered by a rag. He doesn't greet you, just holds out his hand. You place the buckle on his palm. He weighs it with his fingers, then clicks his tongue. Copper alloy, weak, but it has edges. He tosses it once, catches it, then nods. From inside his tunic he pulls out a pouch. He opens it just enough for you to see. Inside, 2 onions, a small pouch of salt, and a blade tip. No handle, just the shard. He lets you choose. You point to the salt. He smirks. Smart. He drops the pouch in your hand and walks away. You don't know what to feel. Relief? Shame? Salt used to be a seasoning. Now it's currency. And you just spent a memory to buy survival. Back in the alley, you divide the salt carefully. Half you hide under your robe. Half you dissolve into water. Your mouth burns with the taste, but you drink every drop. It will help you keep the little food you have. That's what the old woman told you before she died. Later, you walk past what used to be the blacksmith shop. The forge is dead. The bellows gone. But someone still works inside. A boy, maybe 13, sits by a cold anvil, using stones to hammer nails out of old hinges. You watch him. He's careful, slow, methodical. He catches you staring. You want one? You nod. It'll cost you. Of course it will. Everything does. You trade a single thread from your robe, a long, thick one, torn from the edge. Almost invisible. He tests it with his teeth. Real wool, not cheap dye. He hands you the nail, long, sharp, bent slightly. You thank him. He shrugs. You can stab with it, or sell it, and goes back to work. You walk to the wall near the temple. There, an old man scribbles lists with charcoal. You've seen him before. He writes down prices, not for money. Money is meaningless now. He writes value in days. How many days of labor? How many days of food? You glance over his shoulder. Clay jug equals 2 days goat milk. 1 cup equals 3 days bread. 1 flat equals 1.5 days salt. 1 pinch equals 1 day rope. Hand length equals 5 days knife equals 10 days or 1 secret. You read that last one again. 1 secret. You don't ask what kind. You already know. Secrets are traded like meat now. You've sold some, held others. Yesterday, a woman offered her body in exchange for the location of a water cache. The man lied. She returned bruised, still thirsty. That is the economy now. You sit near a stone wall. A man passes by, dragging a wagon with cracked wheels. Inside, dead rats, skinned, gutted, salted. He doesn't hide them. He knows their worth. 3 children follow him, clutching coins. He laughs. Metal won't buy flesh. I want fabric. 1 girl offers her scarf. He gives her 2 rats. She skips away, smiling. Your stomach, it twists, not from disgust, from hunger, because you almost asked him how much. You find a stone tablet near the base of the gate. People have carved notes into it. Trade sandals for oil. Looking for blade. Need rope. Will work. Please. Have baby. Need water. I have nothing but my name. Please. You stare at that last one the longest. You wonder who left it. You wonder if they're still alive. You wonder if their name was worth anything at all. You walk back. Your salt pouch tucked deep inside your robe, your nail gripped tight in your hand. You pass a group of men arguing. One holds a bowl. Inside, seeds, not for eating. They're holy, he says, unplanted from before. They're useless, another spits. You think the ground will save us now? The group turns on each other. You keep walking because you know the truth. The ground doesn't feed you. Your hands do, your trades, your choices, your silence. You sit by your shelter, a nail, a pinch of salt, a threadbare robe. And for now, this is your kingdom. This is your economy. Your sweat turns into someone else's gold. Your breath into someone else's meal. Your memory into currency. You stare at your hands, still whole, still yours, but you don't know for how long. You thought Jerusalem would be glorious. That's what they told you. They said the streets were paved with purpose, that priests sang and smoke rose to heaven, that soldiers stood like statues, bold, clean, righteous, that the walls were carved by angels, and every stone hummed with prophecy. That's what they said. But the truth walks barefoot and stinks of infection. It cries in alleys and buries children in the dark. It hoards barley under rotten wood and trades prayer for power. There is no music, no marble, only survival. You sit near a temple wall, its golden trim long stolen. Pigeons roost in its cracks. Insects crawl where candles once burned. And you remember the stories. David stood here. Solomon prayed here. The ark passed through here. You were told this place touched heaven, but all you feel is dust. A man walks past you wearing a soldier's chest plate. Roman issue, dented, blood-streaked. He's not Roman. He's local. A baker's son. He found it in the ruins. Wears it like a costume. You ask him why. Because they don't stab you if you look important. He shrugs. And it makes people listen. You nod. Because the costume is more powerful than the truth. Down the road, a child reenacts a psalm with 2 sticks. He waves them like swords, pretends to fight demons. A woman claps. You watch, and you realize this is the last illusion left. The pretend war. The imaginary victory. Everything else has collapsed. You once believed the temple was invincible. Now you see cracks crawling up its base. A chunk of wall collapsed last week, crushed a man who had curled there for shade. They say he never screamed, just closed his eyes, as if he'd been waiting. You thought heroism would be loud, but real bravery here is silent. It's walking through fire to fetch water. It's sharing a scrap of bread without being asked. It's choosing not to steal from someone weaker than you. No one writes songs about that. You are not just a warrior. You are the consequence. You say it to yourself now. The old line. You were told you could fight, that you could matter. But what you do now echoes less than a whisper. You pass a wall covered in old paint. Someone once wrote verses here. Holy words, prophecies. Now the paint is smeared with mud, overwritten by messages in coal. There is no miracle coming. The priests lie. The Romans will not wait. Food behind the western cistern, guarded. That last one is underlined. You think of the stories of angels guarding the city, of fire from heaven, but all the fire you see now comes from burning carts. The angels have stopped flying, or maybe they never were here. You stop to rest. A woman next to you cradles a clay pot like it's a baby. Inside, not water, just ashes. She tells you it used to hold her husband's sandals. She burned them. Better warmth than memory. She says, you say nothing because you understand. A preacher calls from the square. His voice is ragged but loud. Stand! The prophets say we will rise. The Lord will split the sky. The temple shall never fall. But even he glances at the cracks in the wall as he says it. Even he doesn't believe it anymore. He just needs to say it. You sit in the shadow of the holy place. It's darker than you remember. You close your eyes and try to imagine what they told you. Golden light, wings of seraphim, trumpets, kings. But all you hear are flies and coughing. The myths are dead, but the hunger remains. Someone once told you the city could never fall, that it had God's hand on it. But now, even God seems to be waiting, watching. You whisper again. You are not just a warrior. You are the consequence. You threw the stone. You bartered with salt. You obeyed when it came kept you alive. You doubted when the prayer stopped working. You are not the sword. You are the echo, not the hero. The proof that heroism didn't work. A boy collapses near the eastern wall. No one runs to help. He lies still, and people step around him. You watch. You do nothing, because if you help him, you might collapse next. No one will carry you either. That is the rule now. That is the truth. The myths say Jerusalem will stand forever. But cities don't fall all at once. They rot, they crack, they starve, they turn people into whispers, and then they are remembered by people who never bled in their streets. The real Jerusalem isn't on a scroll. It's under your nails, in your cracked lips, in the breath you hold every time someone shouts. This city doesn't need heroes. It needs the quiet. It needs the few who still walk forward, still trade, still bury the dead. You look at your hand. You haven't bled today. That's something. You whisper again. You are not just a warrior. You are the consequence. And the myth is over. You never hear the moment the wall breaks. You feel it. The earth gives a sigh. The air changes. The stone trembles beneath your knees like something alive is shifting below it. A single crack, like thunder, but deeper, hungrier, and the shouting begins. You run toward it, away, because you know what a crack in the outer wall means. It means everything that was outside will soon be inside, and there's no stopping it. You follow others through the narrow passageways, people crying, limping, dragging loved ones. Some carry sacks, some carry nothing. A woman runs past with her arms empty, whispering a name that no one answers to. You pass a child trying to lift a door beam off a man's leg. The child screams. The man tells him to stop. Neither of them do. You reach a courtyard near the temple steps. Dust is already in the air. Not from wind, but from the wall crumbling. A soldier, or what's left of one, leans against a pillar, bleeding from the side. He doesn't move, but in his lap rests a scroll, perfect, unburned, untouched. You step forward. You don't know why. You reach down. Your fingers hover above the scroll, but the man coughs. Weakly, he sees you, nods once. then says the words that burn themselves into your spine. Take it. You hesitate. It will outlive both of us. You grab it, not because you believe in what's inside, but because it's the only thing in the courtyard not soaked in blood. And somehow, that feels worth saving. You run again. You duck under broken beams, past shattered statues. People scream behind you, but you don't stop. You reach your corner, the one by the wall where you used to mark the days. But the beam is gone. The shelter is gone. Everything is gone. You kneel, not to pray, to breathe, to think, to remember, to decide. You don't know it yet, but today will echo through time. You remember that from when you first awoke here, from when the world smelled like smoke and iron, when you still had hope, still had a future. Now you have this scroll, a pinch of salt, a cracked fingernail, and a choice. Around you, Jerusalem is tearing itself apart. Not from outside, from within. The Romans haven't even entered yet, but the city is already breaking. You rise. The scroll is warm in your palm. It smells like cedar and sweat. You don't know what it says. You don't need to. You know it holds names, laws, stories. It holds a version of this city that may never exist again. You could run, leave it behind. You could bury it, hide it in the cracks, hope someone finds it later. Or you could walk to the temple, to the inner wall, and place it there, in the open, where the world will see it burn or survive. You start walking. Each step feels heavier than the last. Not because of weight, because of memory. You remember the first time you saw the temple, how you stared at the carvings, the gold. You thought it was a palace of gods. Now, it's a tomb waiting for its fire. You pass two men fighting over a jar. They don't see you. You pass a priest bleeding on the steps. He reaches toward you, but you step around him. You have no more prayers to give. At the top of the temple stairs, you stop. There's no one here. No guards, no crowd, no miracles. Only silence and dust. You place the scroll down on the stone. You press your hand against it. Once, then let go. There's blood on your palm. Yours, probably. from a cut you didn't notice. It stains the scroll's edge. You want to wipe it off, but no, let it stay. Let whoever finds this know that someone bled to remember. You whisper to yourself, this day will echo through time. Maybe not your name, not your face, but this moment, this act, this quiet rebellion against forgetting. You step back, look down at the city, fires, screaming, the crack in the wall widening. You wonder, will they remember the walls, the priests, the soldiers, or will they remember the hungry boy who walked to the top of the temple to lay down a story and bled on its cover? You smile, just a little, then turn away, because history isn't just written in victories. It's written in choices made by people no one ever names, and you, today, made one. The sky turns the color of old wine. Jerusalem, for all its broken bones and burning blood, still gives you one gift before the end. A sky so quiet it could bury grief. No more shouting, no more boots, no more commands. Just wind between shattered pillars, and the silence that follows after a city gives up its breath. You sit beneath what used to be the outer arch, the one with lion carvings. Now just claws, cracked and faceless. You don't need shelter tonight. What's left to hide from? The scroll is gone, placed, left. Your part is done. You have nothing left to give, but that strangely feels like peace. Your chest no longer tightens at every step. Your throat no longer holds back words. You are no longer deciding. You are only breathing. You lie on stone warmed by fire and sun. The robe beneath you is torn, but it still smells of yourself. Sweat, ash, flesh. This is the bed of a survivor. The wind carries voices. Faint ones, a lullaby maybe, or just someone talking to a child. You close your eyes and let it wash over you. In your hand is a small piece of charcoal. You don't remember picking it up. Maybe it was fate. Maybe it was the last gift from the gods you stopped believing in. You drag it across the stone beside you. A mark, then another, then a word. Still. That's all you write. It is not a message. It is not a prayer. It is a truth. You are still. The night thickens. A shape settles beside you. A dog, maybe. Feral. Thin. It doesn't growl, just curls. Even beasts tonight want warmth more than blood. You reach out, touch its back. Its ribs rise and fall. It lives. So do you. You stare at the sky. The stars look unfamiliar. You wonder if they watched from above when Solomon built his throne, when David danced in the streets, when prophets screamed beneath rain, or if they're watching now to see how a city dies slowly. You whisper to them, you were never just a servant. You were the story. The line echoes softly in your throat. Not proud, not afraid, just true. You were told this city was divine, but it was always human, brick and fear. Oil lamps and hunger, arguments and moments of kindness no historian will ever write down. And you were one of those moments. You mattered, even if no one says your name. The wind shifts, cooler now, the kind that makes bodies curl tighter, seeking memory. You close your eyes. You think of the first morning when you woke here, lost, disoriented, new, when the air smelled of iron, when you still believed in rules. That version of you is gone, but not forgotten. You carry them still, in your scars, in your hunger, in your choice to leave the scroll on the stone and not run. Sleep doesn't come fast, but it comes gently. The dog exhales, your stomach growls. A tear slips from one eye, but it's not from sorrow, it's from release. There is no heroism tonight, no sacrifice, no battle. Just you and the soft, long ache of having survived the day. The stars blink. The city sighs, and something inside you whispers, you were never just a servant. You were the story. You wake slowly, not from sleep, but from something deeper, like surfacing from beneath ancient waters where your body no longer belonged, where your breath had forgotten itself. The world around you has changed. The air is cooler now, quieter, but not like before. There is no scent of blood, no firelight, no moaning wind through broken temple arches. You are not in Jerusalem anymore, but Jerusalem is still in you. You blink, twice, 3 times, and with each blink the city recedes, stone by stone, memory by memory, but it doesn't disappear. It leaves fingerprints behind, in your ribs, in your lungs, in the way your thoughts feel heavier now, more real, more ancient. It's over, but it isn't. Your fingers twitch, searching for something that's not there. Salt, a scrap of cloth, the cracked scroll, the dog you slept beside. None of them came with you. And yet, they're here, not outside, inside. You carry them now, like ashes in a bowl, like a story waiting to be whispered. The modern world feels strange, too bright, too clean, too fast, and yet you hesitate to return fully, because what you just lived through wasn't fiction. Not really. It was someone's truth. It was hunger that once blistered real tongues, stones that once bruised real knees, names that once meant everything, and now echo only in broken dust. You remember that boy with the soldier's chest plate, the woman cradling ashes in a pot, the priest bleeding beneath the stairs, the scroll you left behind. These were not characters. They were voices, trapped in time, waiting to be heard. And for a brief moment, you heard them. You were them. How do you return to your world after living someone else's death? How do you sip clean water knowing someone once traded their last breath for a mouthful? How do you walk into your room knowing that not long ago your bed was a broken wall and your pillow a prayer? You don't know it yet, but today will echo through time. You remember that line. It was whispered at the beginning, like a promise or a warning, and now it returns, not as a threat, but as truth. This day, this journey, did echo, not through history books, but through you. You survived the siege of ancient Jerusalem, but not with swords, not with strength. You survived with silence, with grief, with choices made in alleys, and sacrifices no one else will ever know about. You were a ghost, a witness, a heartbeat inside a city on its knees. But now, standing in your time, you're forced to ask yourself, could I do it again? Could I survive not just the pain, but the emptiness, the hunger that's not only in your stomach, but in your soul? Could you hold your dignity while digging in ash for a nail? Could you look someone in the eyes and say, take the scroll? I believe it matters. If you're still here, still listening, still breathing deeply after what you just lived, then you are not like everyone else. You are part of the rare few who choose to carry the weight of history, not just learn it. You didn't just hear a story. You stepped into it. You bled inside it, even if no blood touched your skin, because stories like this aren't meant to entertain. They're meant to haunt, to echo, to whisper questions you can't quite answer, like, what would I trade for a sip of water? How long would I kneel before standing up? Would I bury the scroll or carry it into fire? You were never just a servant. You were the story. Let that echo now, not just through your ears, but through your hands, your tongue, your decisions. Let it change the way you see quiet people. Let it change the way you think of ancient names. Because behind every statue, every scripture, every city lost to time, there was someone like you, anonymous, exhausted, trying to survive just one more day. So now the story ends, but only in words, because inside you, it's just beginning. You lived it. You felt it. You endured hunger, doubt, grief, and silence. But now, I ask you, could you survive it again? Not as a soldier, not as a prophet, not even as a hero, but as a soul, a body, a story. Let me know in the comments. What stayed with you? What would you have done differently? Could you have survived, not the siege, but the silence? And if you've made it here, if you've heard every breath, every whisper, every broken truth, then you are not just a viewer. You are a storyteller. And storytellers, don't forget, sleep well, storyteller, because the world is full of forgotten cities, and they are waiting for someone like you to remember them.